this.
Okay, so let's get started. How do I make it so that I appear as the main window?
Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's video, Ignite and Negotiate the Deal. We have Mark Solomon here getting his materials ready in the beautiful Aspen, Colorado area on his deck. Front porch. Is that your front porch? Is that your back deck?
We're going to go with the front porch. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. I am going to. Are you guys seeing me big in your window, or am I still tiny in the small screen?
People can change it to speaker or gallery, wherever they want.
Okay. All right. I don't know why it's. Okay. So, yeah. So, like I said, I know we did an intro before we started recording, but Mark Solomon, if you guys have any questions, my email is mark.solomon@kw.com. Or you can text, and I'll put my
chat too.
Yep, we'll put my info in the chat. Okay. So I wanted to teach this class. I was really excited about it. Bruce said, hey, do you mind? And I made him redo the schedule for me so that I could teach this class. I love negotiations. Okay. It is one of my favorite things. I will also say because of the things I mentioned earlier, I have not had a chance to review the material. So I'm going to kind of look through it as we go through it. Do you guys all have the Ignite materials in front of you? Electronically, at least? Okay.
Most likely they don't. I'll put it in the chat.
Okay, that's fine. Even if you don't, I'm going to talk about a few different things, and we'll. Okay, that's okay if you don't have the materials. No worries. I'm going to talk about these things and why they're important. So we're going to focus on negotiating the deal. Okay. So let's start with this. When do we negotiate? And this is an interactive thing. So if you guys thought you were going to be quiet, you don't get to be. Okay. So. And I'll call you out. Casey, you're on my screen, so I'm gonna call you out the most.
You can totally call me out.
Okay, fair enough. So, and
do you want to screen share and pull up some material or no?
Yeah, I can do that. Okay, so in general, it can be anybody, right? I just see you guys. When do we negotiate in terms of real estate? Give me some ideas of when you think we negotiate. Where, when?
Offers.
Okay, perfect. Good answer.
As soon as you get in front of any potential client, you're starting to negotiate.
Okay, tell me more about that.
Well, you're either trying to negotiate for, them to pick you to sell their house, or, pick you to help them buy a house.
Yeah, right on. Perfect. How many of you have to negotiate with a spouse or a kid to go do showings, or, to let you leave the house? Right? Or whatever it is, right? You have to negotiate like, hey, I'll cook dinner, but I got to run and do the showing, or whatever it happens to be, right? I'm leaving again to go show a house, whatever. There are lots of times we negotiate. Okay, so perfect. Thank you for all those answers. So our job is to basically ensure that we are good at negotiating, right? Because we got to do it all day long. So I'm going to teach you some tricks here on how to do all of that, negotiate throughout the transaction, as well as at the end, remind me, because I will babble on, like I said, hi here, remind me on how you can get a free lunch out of your friends by negotiating, okay? A negotiation tactic. So at the end of this, I'll teach you how to get a free meal, okay? Can you guys see my screen okay?
I just called Mark and asked him if he wants to take me out for lunch.
Yes, and then at the end, Bruce pays. So I'll tell you how that works. Okay. So, okay. Assuming you guys can see my screen. If not, let me know because it's messed up on my side. But okay. So obviously during the offer phase, it talks about it here with the goal of getting a contract. That is certainly one part of that. We talked about that during an option period while under contract. The goal of closing the contract. Okay. So in terms of where you guys are at. I'm not sure all the different courses you've covered, so I apologize in advance, but leads, you got to focus on leads. Okay. This is the funnel, and whether you like it or not, you're all salespeople. Okay. So you may not like it, but you are a salesperson. Now, salespeople, you can sell whatever you want. Put me in a used car lot, I'll outsell most salespeople. Why? Because I know how to sell, and I'm not selling the cars, I'm selling me, right? So that's how we do this. You guys, if you're worried about, oh, I can't make somebody buy a house. I can't make them sell their house. So I'm not selling that. I'm selling them using me. I have to be super charming. I think I am. Bruce says I am, and he thinks I have way better hair than he does, just for reference. And it's true. So, so in terms of this is leads is you got to sell yourself. Get in front of as many people as possible. Open houses, your database. These are all ways that we get leads, okay? Sales funnel. This is the thing. This is it. This is what you focus on. This is how you build a really big business where you can travel when you need to, okay? Or want to. Then that converts to appointments. Then that turns into agreements. There's some negotiation along the way there. And then contracts where it says, here's where you are in terms of negotiation. Just know that this whole thing involves negotiations. Okay, the whole process. Okay. Bargaining, give or take, a process between two or more parties, each with its own aims, needs, viewpoints, seeking to discover common ground. One of the things that I tell my clients is when I introduce myself to them and we're thinking about working together, I talk about the Y4C2Ts. Are you guys familiar with those? Okay, and I'm not going to repeat them here because I don't have them memorized. However, I will tell you that the one I point out, because every time I talk to somebody, I'm using the language of sales and I'm setting myself up for success when it comes to negotiations. So one of the things I do is I put that in, it's in my packet, right? If you guys don't have a listing packet, I'll give you one you can steal or we can make one, it's no big deal. But the Y4C2Ts page is in there. And basically the one I point out is win-win or no deal. And I point that out to my sellers and my buyers when I'm sitting in the living room with them. And I talk about our values, right? Here's the KW values, and we agree with this. One I want to point out is win-win or no deal. Because Mrs. Seller or Mrs. Buyer, the reason I point that out is because I want you to understand that when we get into negotiations for the sale or purchase of your house, whatever it is, we have to win with both parties. It's not a one person loses, one person wins. We have to find that common ground in order to make this work. And so now you're on the list side. Eventually you're going to be a buyer. And in order to do that, then you're going to have to flip the script. And now you're going to be on that end. So we want to treat the buyer correctly on your deal when you sell your house, and then do the same thing. Hopefully the seller will do the same thing to you when you go to buy. Okay. So every time I'm in front of a potential client, I am negotiating with them in advance, sometimes using the language of sales to set things up in a way that makes the most sense for me later. Okay. So that way, when we go to negotiate, I remind them of the win-win. I'm not giving them that $500, whatever it is. That's my favorite window in the house. I'm those window coverings. I'm not leaving those. Let's talk about win-win. Like those are your favorite window coverings. They won't even fit in your new house. By the way, they're ugly. So I may not say that part. Are you going to really want to lose this $650,000 sale over some $500 window coverings? Remember, win-win or no deal. So again, I'm preemptively striking with a lot of these conversations, okay? But it is really important to understand that a good negotiation means everybody wins, okay? That doesn't mean everybody meets in the middle, by the way. That's not what that means. It can be, and a lot of times that's what happens because everybody thinks that that's fair. The reality is that it means that everybody has to feel like they're winning in some way, okay? All right. So in real estate, negotiations occur between agents, their clients, your family, all of the things, okay? Okay, well, what does this say? We can have fun here. Common negotiating issues. Let's call on participants one at a time and throw them a common negotiating issue. Actually, tell me, for those of you who've done deals, if you haven't, that's okay. Tell me some things that for you have caused you grief in negotiating, okay? What are some of the things that have caused problems for you? Or you've heard, even if you haven't done a deal, that's okay. What have you heard that have caused problems? Casey, unmuted first, so you go.
So I have a lot of different things that would, not a lot of different things, but one thing, so I like to call expireds, and one of the negotiation things that I'm dealing with is that they want to use their old agent, the one that let their listing expire. And I'm trying to practice negotiating with them, like why they should use me over using, do they have a friendship, or do they, with this person, or do they want to sell their house? type thing.
Sure.
I know Bruce has been helping me a little bit, but I'm still working on that. But I don't know if that's like a common negotiation, but that's just something
That's-
I'm dealing with.
Is very common. So that's awesome.
Okay.
Great. I'm going to make a note of that real quick and then we'll come back to that. Let's take a few more inputs and then we'll come back to that. Okay.
Okay.
Inclusions like can you hear me?
Yes.
Inclusions like, let's say a refrigerator or washer and dryer. But I've also heard where they included all the appliances, which included the refrigerator. But when they left, they took the new refrigerator and put the old garage refrigerator in.
Okay. All right. Perfect. Yes, that comes up a ton. All right. Okay. What else we got? Anybody else have any common negotiating issues that they've kind of run into or heard about?
So another one that I was going to say just real quick is that I found myself negotiating with my buyer, with my own client, because he didn't understand the market, as he was from Texas and he was from out of town. So I was going on these showings without him. And he was my first buyer. It was really, really challenging because first of all, every house that he was looking at, he was offering like 20,000 below list price. And then I had to kind of, I don't know if I was negotiating, but I was trying to put in a perspective so that he could see that, is this house worth losing over, this much money, because there's multiple offers. I don't want to say I guarantee you're not going to get it, but there's multiple offers on this property. And I want you to come in with a strong offer. If you're really confident you want this house or whatever. And he told me, well, honestly, I just don't think any house in Colorado is worth more than $400,000.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I was really nice. I even tried to refer him off to Harry, and I was like, all right, Harry, here you go. He wants because there's just a lot of different issues we had. But then I did everything right with him because I don't know, I found myself negotiating my expertise, because being a new agent, he asked me point blank how many houses I sold. And even though I was like, well, even though I'm a new agent, I know we all have to start somewhere, but I have an excellent team that have working with me, and I have coaches that I can reach out to, 3 coaches 24/7. They review my contracts, blah, 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 blah. And like, he just ghosted me when he went back to Texas. He never responded. I actually thought he died, because I was like, oh Lord, he's not responding, he's gone. And then he responded, and I'm like, oh yeah, you want to see the contract we signed? Sure. Yep, you got me till July. Sorry. And he just wanted it to expire. So it was like a really hard situation, but
Well, okay, we will talk about
I don't
that
know.
too. Nope, that's a great example.
Oh, okay.
Yep. Nope, that is perfect. Anybody else got one real quick? Otherwise, we'll go with these. Okay. Remember, this is interactive. I'm gonna start calling on people.
I'm
yeah.
so sorry, Mark, to interrupt you. Could you also talk about negotiations with commission, like when you're taking listings, when they're like, oh, why are you gonna, why not just go with this person who's gonna charge, like, I don't know, 1%. Just kidding. A
Oh, that's
discount
perfect.
broker. Can we talk
Yep.
about those?
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, these are great. I love all of these. So anybody else got anything? Anything? Okay.
Focusing too much on the price, and instead, you don't want to miss out on a good deal. So maybe, if somebody comes in and says, well, this house is $1 million and it's really only worth the 500,000, you want to make sure that perhaps you could buy the house turnkey, include all the furnishings, or like I said before, include all the appliances, the washer and dryer, something, create options to negotiate where you're not focusing strictly on the price and taking the focus away from that.
Perfect. And actually, that's one of my key things I want you guys to take away. Christina, right?
Yes.
Okay,
And
perfect.
by
Thank
the
you so
way,
much. Yeah.
not to cut in, but I'm new to the process. I'm not an agent. I'm taking the course through Keller Williams, and I should be ready to take my real estate exam here within the next 3 weeks.
Awesome.
So I've met some wonderful people. Darby Stump is the one who's sponsoring me, and out of the Firestone Keller Williams office. So I want to thank you all just for including me and making that available to people like us who are on our journey.
No, that is awesome. And because you're not licensed, you're dead to me. So we're not going to talk anymore. I'm just kidding. No, this is, so just know that the stuff you're learning here is real life, and the stuff you have to learn for the exam has nothing to do with practicing real estate. So everybody in here will probably agree with that, right? It's that they're totally separate things. So focus on your exam as well, right? Just pass that test, and then you can start doing all this. But that, what you said was spot on. And I'll actually start with that. When it comes to negotiations, one of the things I teach people that Christina just talked about was price is not the only thing. You may think that in your head, and this is where, have you guys heard of the drunk monkey before? So if you don't know, Keller Williams, we talk about the drunk monkey. The drunk monkey is the little thing that sits on your shoulder and talks to you and tries to keep you safe, right? The drunk monkey's nice, but the drunk monkey is wrong most of the time, okay? The drunk monkey will tell you things like, they don't want to talk to me, I'm bugging them. That's the voice that the drunk monkey uses, okay? So hey, I need you to make some phone calls to random people. I'm gonna be bothering them at dinner time, right? That's they're gonna hate me, right? Okay, that's the drunk monkey. So one of the things the drunk monkey tells you is they want the most money possible, right? That may be the case, absolutely. May not be. Maybe they want the least amount of hassle. Maybe the last time they bought a house, it was so much hassle, they just don't want, they don't care. Maybe they don't need the money. I don't know. So the best thing to do is ask lots of questions, okay? But Christina pointed it out correctly, which is price isn't the only thing. And one of the things I want you to take out of this negotiation class is that it's not just price. There can be a million other things going on, and we need to understand what those things are and find the right solution for people. Win-win, right? Or no deal. So let's start with some of these negotiation things. And I'm gonna give you some objection type handlers for these, but that's not what the point is. The point is to understand how we negotiate, okay? So the first thing is I wanna use my old agent. Okay, great. I wanna use my old agent. So with all of these, we're including appliances or we're not. Negotiating with your own client who doesn't understand the market, waiting for the contract to expire, negotiating commissions. All of these things are based in one thing that I want you to understand about negotiation is another Y4C2T is seek first to, a bold law, seek first to understand, right? So the first thing I'm gonna do when someone says to me is that, hey, will you discount your commission? Tell me more about that. And then let them talk. Tell me more about that. My favorite thing when someone says, how many houses have you sold? Or will you negotiate your commission? My favorite response to that is, why is that important to you? Okay. By the way, in my entire 15 years, I think I've been asked twice how many houses have you sold. So if you guys are worried about that, I know Casey's won the lottery on that one. Don't sweat that question. Just turn around and be like, why is that important to you? Well, my last agent was on one of those mega teams and they were just so busy all the time. They never had time for me. Oh, well, great. I got nothing going on. I'm bored. You are it. Like, I'm going to be just shy of a restraining order. Like, I'm all over you, right? So, okay, don't quite go that far. But do you see where we have the thing in our houses? They want someone who's sold a lot of houses. I have no idea. Ask them. Why is that important to you? Well, the last person I was on a mega team and I never saw them. I never heard from them. They kept referring me to their admin, blah, 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 blah. Oh, great. Well, you won't have that problem with me. I am 100% focused on you. I have clients that I work with. Every single one of them, I am 100% focused on. You're going to get me. When you call me, you're going to get me. When you text me, you're going to get me. Okay. Or the flip side of that. Every time I called my agent, they were available. I didn't like that. That's terrible. They were creepy, whatever, right? I mean, so asking why is that important to you gives you typically the answer that they want. We assume we know what they're worried about. How many houses have you sold? Oh, they want someone who's really experienced. You don't know. You never know what the answer is going to be. So ask the question, why is that important to you? Okay. Plus that gives you a little time to think as they're responding with what it is that's important to them about that. And then you can respond. So first thing is seeking first to understand in negotiation. You have to do that. Understand where the question is coming from. Is it, I want somebody with a lot of experience, or I want somebody who's newer, or who's just going to focus on me? Whatever that thing is, we just need to understand. Can you discount your commission? Oh, interesting question. Why is that important to you? Well, there's somebody who said they do it for 1%. Okay, so are you interested in saving money or getting your house sold? Well, I want to get my house sold. Okay, well, by pricing it correctly, and you can see my or our, use the royal we price houses correctly the first time. As a matter of fact, our list price to sold price is 102.5%. So I'm going to get you more money than we likely list the house for, is typically the average. So rather than discount commission, how about we just get you the most money for your house? How does that sound to you? Okay, now you don't need to write these down. Bruce knows these scripts, so these are just scripts. Okay, the point though is that I have to understand why, the why first. I need to understand where is the objection coming from, so that then I can respond. And typically that question is, why is that important to you, is really powerful, and will get you at, 99% of the time will get you the answers you want. Okay, does that make sense? Perfect. One of the things I want to talk about briefly is coming from a place of abundance. Okay, in negotiations, if you guys are new to the business or you haven't started yet, you're going to have a little bit of what's the word I'm looking for? Desperation. There you go. Okay, there's going to be just a hint of that. Okay, if you're independently wealthy, you have no desperation. Maybe you might even still have a hint of desperation, but the point is, we can't let that rub off to the point where our clients feel that or sense it. Okay, because that will quickly sideline your negotiations for whatever it is you're trying to do. So for example, and Casey, this is not picking on you, this is just how I am. Okay, I come from a place of abundance. I mentioned my father passing away, and I told you about the positive things that came from that. Okay, I am that guy. I am just that guy. I am positive all the time, right? 99% of the time. Okay, because I feel like it's better. Plus, my people invented karma. We got to treat people right. So stay on the positive side of things. Good things will happen. Okay. So when you stay positive about things, positive things will come of it. Or it's still negative. My dad still passed away. That is terrible. Yet there were so many positive things. People who helped. They stayed with my mom. Blah 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 blah. I can focus on the negative, or I can stay focused on the positive. It's just what I do. So when it comes to, for example, working with a miserable client, I'm just going to say he's miserable. I don't know if Texas guy was or not. Sounds kind of like it. I got to tell you honestly, let him out of that contract. Oh, you want out of the contract? Great. Send me an email. Says you want out of the contract. You're done. See you later. Have a nice day. If you don't want to work with them, come from a place of abundance with these negotiations, because the reality is you want these deals. You don't need them. Even if you need them, you got to come from a place of, I want this deal. I don't need it. Okay. Because again, your clients will smell that on you. Desperation smells, and they will find it. And then all of a sudden they don't want to work with you. You're that you're that slimy salesperson. Okay. So I want you guys to come from a place of abundance when it comes to all of these things. Seek first to understand. So ask why. Why is that important to you? Can you tell me more about that? What about that is important to you, whatever it happens to be? I remember early on in my career, I had a guy, this is back in the day when houses would take, I know, surprise, 6 months, 4 to 6 months on the market. Put a sign in the yard, and 4 to 6 months later, you might get a paycheck, okay, after multiple price reductions. That was the norm back then. And so I had a client one time, I went to list his house, and he said, do you do open houses? Okay, my response was, I don't do open houses, they're a waste of time, blah, blah, blah. This is before I knew why I needed to do open houses. I don't do open houses, they're a waste of my time, blah, 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 blah. I went on for like 5 minutes because I'm high and like to talk. At the end of that, he said to me, he goes, good, I don't like them. Right? So one of the things I learned in negotiations, by the way, which is why I teach this class, is I will talk myself out of a sale because I talk too much. Okay. So I've learned, Bruce, stop laughing at me. You don't know me. So I have learned, I know it doesn't sound like it today. I have learned to stop talking when I'm talking to certain people, right? Ask the question and then shut up. And it's called the wait principle. Okay. So write down on your piece of paper, if you're taking notes, or on your computer, write down wait, W-A-I-T. Okay. Ask a question, stop talking, wait. Okay. And what does wait stand for? It's why am I talking?
Oh my God.
It's true, Casey.
Me and Casey are just like resonating with this so hard right now.
Yeah, as another high, I really feel what you're saying right now, Mark.
Yes, this is all legit stuff. Okay, I'm teaching you like the good and bad and the ugly of all of this. I was not always as awesome as I am today. I did have good hair. but just not as awesome.
Can you say, what's the weight? What
Weight,
does it stand
it's
for?
the weight principle. Okay, so when you ask somebody a question, spouse, client, whatever it is, ask the question and then stop talking. Why am I talking is the weight
Why?
principle. So you ask the question and you wait, right? Okay, so that's the trick to this whole thing, is really, one, seek first to understand and then stop talking. In our society, in Western culture, silence is awkward. Silence will do the heavy lifting for you when it comes to negotiating. Okay. And again, this will come into play when at the end, when we talk about how to get a free lunch. Okay, we'll talk about the weight principle. Okay, so again, without going through all of these, hopefully we've addressed sort of the crux of all of these things, right? Negotiating with your own client who didn't understand the market. Ask the questions. Why is it important to you to offer under the market value? Okay, because what I want from that conversation is I want to understand where my client's coming from. He just wants a deal. Great. I'm gonna put you on a wait list. And when I find a deal, you'll be the first person I call. We're not going to go look at every house because these are retail houses. You're looking for, a discount house. I will find you a discount house. I will work hard, and then you're the first call I'm going to make for the discount house. Okay. Does that make sense? So there's ways to understand this. Why is that person looking for a discount? You may find in asking the question, why is that important to you, or some variation of that, I don't want to work with this person. Okay, that's all right too. Come from a place of abundance, fire that client, move on to the next one. Okay. Now by fire, I mean refer them to somebody like Bruce, who then they can deal with difficult client and you can still get a referral fee. Okay. Never leave money on the table. We're business owners. Okay. So, okay. Does that help with anybody have a specific thing that they want me to kind of address, or does that sort of encompass hopefully overall a sense of negotiating, why we're doing what we're doing and what helps? Okay. You got to understand what's going on first. And what Christina said in terms of price, it's not the only thing. So get your drunk monkey off your shoulder. Tell that monkey to shut up when you're talking about price or whatever it is. You got to ask questions first. Is price the most important thing? Do you want the highest price? Well, yes. Okay. Well, you mentioned to me that you needed to be close to your grandkids by the time school gets out in 2 months. Or yeah, 2 months. So do you want that? Are you willing to take a little bit lower price if we can get you the right price, but maybe a little bit lower just to make sure that you're in Florida to be with the grandkids when they step off the bus that last day of school and you've got ice cream cones for them and you're ready to see them and give them that big hug, right? I paint a picture, people, right? I need them emotionally tied to that thing. And they're going to go, yeah, we like the ice cream cones with the kids. Great. Okay, well, let's list it at this and let's get going. Okay. It's not always price. So seek first to understand and make sure you're asking the right questions. That, why is that important to you will get you out of almost any situation you're in, okay? Unless someone's about to punch you in the face. You may not want to ask, why is that important to you? Because then they will punch you in the face. Okay, so above all, be a professional when it comes to negotiating. Your goal, in this case, they talk about a signed contract. It could be a million things. It could be getting them to sign the buyer's agency with you, right? So, or it could be signing a contract to buy a house, or it could be at the closing table. I've had places where we're negotiating the entire way, okay? Control what you say to anyone involved in the conversation. And this is where I see people online violating this all the time. One, there's a code of ethics we have. You can never say anything bad about another agent, so don't. Two is, why would you ever be unprofessional online? Someone can find that stuff, right? So be professional. Hey, you lose a deal to some other agent. Okay. Hey, good luck. Awesome. Congrats. That agent was going to take great care of you. Hope it works out for you. Have a nice day. Oh, your brother used another agent, didn't call you? Oh, that's terrible. You should disown your brother. No, don't disown your brother. Seek first to understand. Hey, why is that? Was there something I could have done? Oh, well, I used a Keller Williams agent. I just assumed you guys were all the same. Oh, my brother didn't understand real estate because I didn't take the time to explain it, right? That's not a true story. I'm just saying that's an example that I've seen a million times. People just assume. So that's why don't disown your brother. Makes holidays awkward. Actually seek first to understand and see what's going on, okay? But be professional, always, even to the people you dislike, unless someone's going to punch you in the face. I had a
Can
guy
I
almost punch me in the face.
Can I piggyback on that?
Yes,
Not
yes,
only that, but stay positive. Always stay positive, and then make sure if you're in face-to-face communications and not just on the telephone, you watch your body language, watch your facial expressions. You don't want to drop your mouth all of a sudden or start crossing your arms when they lowball offer something. You have to watch your body language. I've learned that in my 48 years of life. Is the two things that were important to me were what Mark said, wait, meaning giving yourself a minute to breathe, digest what you just heard, and then you learn from listening, and then just staying positive and make sure you watch your body language.
All 100% accurate. Absolutely. I appreciate that. Thank you. Because it's true. You just have to do that. So you will be really successful in this business as long as you stay positive. Okay. And seek first to understand. I had a guy, I'd never done a transaction with him, but I knew him through a friend that I went to high school with in Kansas City. He was a pretty successful agent. Did our first transaction together. At one point, he's yelling at me and refuses to give me the keys for closing. So I go to his office and I'm sitting there for 2 hours waiting for the keys, right? And I'm not getting them and all this kind of stuff. And it's sort of him yelling at me and me trying to understand what's going on. Come to find out, his mom had passed away 2 weeks prior. I've never seen him act like this, but he was upset, right? So I didn't get mad at him. I just figured it out. We figured out a way through. I got the brokers involved. Everything worked out. Seek first to understand. Just stay positive, okay? He apologized later, and that was fine. So just like I said, seek first to understand. Some people you're just not going to work with, and that's okay. I'm not saying you have to be, super nice to everybody. Be nice in their face. Don't say bad things about them behind their back, and just move on, okay? Some people it's just not going to work with. So always be professional. Refer back to motivation, okay? We have a class that I referenced earlier called BOLD. It's Business Objective, a Life by Design, okay? And in that course, which if you guys ever get a chance to take it, you should have taken it 7 times. BOLD has a lot of laws, they call it, okay? One is seek first to understand. Another one is refer back to motivation. Another law they have is logic makes people think, emotion makes them act, okay? Logic makes people think, emotion makes them act. This is another important feature in a negotiation because logically, when you go to buy a car, do you walk into the dealership and do you say, I would like a car with 4 wheels, a steering wheel, and some safety features? That's not how we buy cars. We walk into the dealership and we see the bright red one that goes fast and has a really loud radio, and we say, I want that one, and it smells like new car, right? But who's paying 50, 70, now like hundreds of thousands of dollars for vehicles? Who does that? Nothing wrong with it, by the way, but who does that? Well, the people who do that, not necessarily sometimes, but not always thinking logically, they're thinking emotionally. So back to my example with the ice cream cones and the kids in Florida getting off the bus. You better believe I paint that picture in a negotiation, and that's how I win listing agreements, right? Where do you need to be next? I want to be close to the grandkids when they are, when they're wherever at school. How old are the grandkids? Oh, great. So they're in school. Oh, okay. Well, school's out in a couple of months. Wouldn't it be great to be there to pick them up off the bus that last day of school? Blah, blah, blah. I paint that picture. Why? Because emotion makes people act. Logic makes them think. Okay.
Logically, echo off that. Oh,
go ahead.
No, and you guys, what he's talking about is legitimately for those people that there's a big difference between want and need to move and buy and sell, right? The people that are starting a new job across the country, they need to sell. Like, it's going to be a little easier. What he's hitting the nail on the head is what we always talk about in scripts and what we do every day in these group Zooms. The people that are upsizing or downsizing, and they don't really have that timeline, right? Deadlines make people act. But if you can create that deadline through a picture like Mark's doing, the last day of school, they get off the school bus. That last day is a deadline. It's a date. So whenever you get somebody that says, well, I'd like to downsize to a ranch style home because I'm getting a little older and I don't want to deal with the steps anymore. You guys will always hear me use Christmas or a different holiday. So hypothetically speaking, are you going to be upset with yourself? Or are you going to still want to deal with the steps, you know, come this Christmas? Or can you see yourself, you know, in your new ranch style home, showing it off to all your family and friends who are appreciative that they don't have to worry about you and steps anymore on Christmas Day at your new place? And if they can't feel that, if you can't see that, then the likelihood of them transacting before now and Christmas is low. But if it's, oh my gosh, that sounds amazing, that's there, you're starting to set that deadline. And that's what motivation will do. I love it, Mark. That's such an awesome example.
Yeah. So again, these things we're talking about in terms of negotiation, there's some specifics. Again, we'll work through some of those. You got to understand all of these things, right? Logic makes people think, emotion makes them act. So we have to understand the emotional tie to what they're doing. Steps are very logical. The emotions are the pain. My knees suck, by the way. So I get it, right? I don't like stairs. So I'm going to play that up in a negotiation to win the contract, whether it's a listing agreement or work with this buyer or whatever it is. Yeah, I get that. Those stairs are painful. When you're working with a buyer who said they didn't want stairs and then is looking at, you know, 2-story houses. Okay, well, we're going to have a conversation around that. Tell me about that knee pain you had. I see you walking down these stairs and it looks painful. Is this what you want to do every single day? How about we stick to the ranch style homes? Okay. Absolutely okay to bring up the emotional tie to things. Okay. Do the exact opposite of me, which is listen more than you talk when you negotiate. Okay. Bruce, stop smiling. And don't be attached to the outcome. This is really important. This is where that place of abundance comes in handy. Don't be attached to the outcome. It's not your house. I understand it, your paycheck, which is why you need to be professional, ask the right questions, get through the negotiation process. Don't be attached to this. Hey, if they want the ugly house, get them the ugly house. They want to overpay for a house, let them overpay. They want to waive negotiations, let them waive negotiations. It's not my deal. I'm here to facilitate that and give them the right advice, make sure they understand what's going on. At the end of the day, ain't my problem. I'm not the one living there. When it comes to my house, I'll figure out what things are important to me and I'll work on that. Try that. I don't care. I tell my clients that at the buyer consult, for example, I'll tell them, if you want the ugly house and you ask me, hey, what do you think of this house? I'm going to tell you it's ugly. If you want it, I'll get it for you though. So I tell them I'm going to be upfront with them. So I'm always going to be honest with them. Just sometimes it may be painful. Okay. Like I tell Bruce all the time, he needs a haircut. That's true. Okay. So common points of negotiation. Actually, before we get to that, are we doing okay? Do you guys need a break? I know we started a little bit late, but do you guys want to take a couple minutes? Potty break, you good? Anybody have any concerns, questions? Potty break?
You're the one talking. If you need water or you need some coffee or something.
Yeah,
No,
right.
I'm good. I do this all the time. I'm good. I can keep going for hours without any water.
I believe you. I believe you.
Actually, this is a good place. So let's, it is 9:57. Let's take 3 whole minutes. Okay. So I'll be respectful of your time and we'll come back right at the top of the hour. Check your cell phones. They probably all have the same time as mine, 9:57. And then we'll be back in 3 minutes and keep going. Okay. Let me start. Oh. Okay. So, again, just go through these again because they're really important. Seek first to understand. Okay. Be a professional. Get a contract signed or whatever the deal is you're trying to negotiate. Control what you say. Always control what you say. Always. Refer back to motivation. Remember, logic makes people think. Emotion makes them act. Listen more than you talk. Do the opposite of what Mark does. And don't be attached to the outcome. Okay. That is really important. I cannot stress this last one enough. I know the other things are all important. Man, people, the more transactions you do, the reality is you will become less attached to them. Not that they're not important, not that the clients aren't important. It's just, okay, if that deal works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't, and I'll move on to the next one. You've got 17 deals closing. If one of them falls out, it's not the end of the world. Okay. And that's why I say come from abundance. Assume that you've got a bunch of deals closing and that will work for you. Not, man, I got to pay my rent on this one deal and it better close. because the way the universe works is it is likely it's not going to. So you got to go get a bunch. Okay. Okay. Actually, before we go on to the next thing, let's open it up for people, the interactive session again. What are some of the things we negotiate? Like, what things do we negotiate in a contract? What are some of the items? Anybody? The interactive part.
Repair costs.
Repair costs. Okay. What else?
Inclusions, exclusions, like
Inclusions, exclusions. Yep. What else?
Host occupancy.
Host occupancy. Perfect. What else? What's the one that the drunk monkey tells you is always the most important thing? May not be.
Price,
Price. Perfect.
Price.
What else?
our highest price.
Yep. Highest price. Yep. What else could be super important that people want to negotiate?
They want to sell as quickly as possible.
Closing day, maybe?
Closing day. My wife pointed this out. There's a commercial on TV. I don't remember who the guy is. 7 something something realestate.com.org, whatever it is, on TV, and he references that you, in his program, you can choose your own closing date. And she looked at me and she's like, "Can't you do that anyway?" Absolutely. He's marketing it though. It's a feature, right? So
Yeah.
good for him. Absolutely. So closing day is a negotiating item, right?
mortgage rate and mortgage points.
Mortgage rate, not always specifically negotiable, the rate itself, but points, yes, absolutely, right? Whether you're doing it, maybe fees, things like that, certain fees with the lender.
Why is
Okay.
Bruce just like a ghost over there? Is that
I
Bruce?
know, I saw.
Yeah, I'm not sure what his deal is.
He's like a
Sometimes
ghost.
I don't ask.
Spirit mode.
That's a ghost of his hair. Anyway. What else do we negotiate in a deal?
Well, the earnest money.
Absolutely, earnest money, perfect. Anything else you can think of off the top of your head?
Inspection, appraisals.
Seller concessions, maybe?
Yep, inspections, appraisals. Basically, I'm going to tell you guys, everything is negotiable. Everything
Yes,
is
sir.
negotiable.
Yeah.
Okay. Everything. I used to joke with clients, and again, over time, you get to sort of an understanding of how this is. One of them is because I've always wanted one, is a riding lawnmower. When I walk into a house and I see a riding lawnmower in the garage, like I said, I've always wanted one. However, usually the people are downsized. A riding lawnmower, then it might be something worth asking. Again, we want to do it separately from the real estate transaction. Hey, are they taking that riding lawnmower with them or what, right? I had a client who asked about the pool table that was in the house. Turns out it was a $3,000 pool table. The sellers didn't want to move it. My people got it for like $700, along with pretty much the entire house full of furniture, right? So again, separate from the real estate transaction always, because it becomes appraisal issue if you try and include it all, personal property. However, seek first to understand. Hey, tell me about this pool table that's really, really heavy to move. Man, that would hurt your back. Do you guys want to leave that? Right? Okay, whatever it is. So basically everything is negotiable. There's a price potentially for everything, right? If somebody's emotionally attached to it, maybe not. Shy of that though, there's something somewhere that might work for that hot rod in the garage. Hey, my client really wants that. Okay, well, let's outside of the real estate transaction, maybe have a conversation around it. Okay, everything is negotiable. So in this thing, it talks about price, terms, things like closing costs, closing date, conveyances, earnest money, repairs. Part of why I want to have this conversation around this section is, well, again, price is number one. It's not always the thing, can be. Terms, all of the terms are negotiable. We talked about things like closing cost or closing date. As professionals, I want you guys to set your businesses up in a way that makes you successful. I don't leave any of this stuff to chance. As a successful negotiator, none of this stuff is by accident, okay? So closing date, for example. My closing dates, I tell my clients when we're doing the buyer consultation that I do with every single one of my buyers, I mention closing date. and I tell them we're going to close on a Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday, sometime between 10 a.m. and 1. Okay, or I change it to 11 and 2, whatever. Part of that is because my opinion is you should always put your oxygen mask on first in every situation. When it comes to your business, the reason we do open houses is not to, when you get listings, you will do open houses on your clients' houses. It is not to sell the house. National Association of Realtor Statistics, I don't remember exactly the number, so I won't quote it here. I will tell you that it's a really small percentage sell. I think it's 3% or less.
Yeah, it's under 5%.
Yeah. So almost nothing sells from an open house. So why are we doing it? Let's put our oxygen mask on first, right? I'm going to get some business. For me, it's listings. I'm going to get the neighbors to list with me. If I pick up a buyer, great. It's to grow my business. And by the way, secondarily, because I will take care of my clients, I'll promote their house for sale to the neighbors. Okay, that's okay. There's nothing wrong with putting your business first because you want to help all the people sell their houses. You can't if you're out of business next year. Okay, so it is okay to put your oxygen mask on first. I do open houses to grow my business. Secondarily, I mean, mainly through getting listings. Secondarily is to sell the client's house. Okay. So stay focused on that and all of the things that you do. Closing date, I pick that because Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. If I close on a Friday at the end of the month, please don't do that. What happens if the lender can't do it for some reason? One, don't use that lender. But two, let's say something comes up, there's some paperwork snafu or something like that. You, being the professional, have single-handedly destroyed their weekend move. They can't move until Monday now. Whose fault is that? I think it's ours, right? Because we didn't design this transaction correctly. So in negotiations, I can make sure everybody wins by in advance telling them we're going at the buyer consult. We're always going to close on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday between 11 and 2. Why 11 and 2? Because I'm done with my lead gen for the day by 11. Or you should be that day, be done by 11, and then go to closing. Put your oxygen mask on first, lead gen, then go to closing. Pick up your paycheck. Yay. Hashtag win, right? Design your business. Don't default your way through it. Now, I negotiate that with my client by telling them in advance, this is what we're going to do. And I get clients to sign with me. They know I'm the expert. They're going to go with what I say. Okay. Closing costs. Yes. Can the seller pay them? Absolutely. Is that happening a lot in this market? No. Is it happening though? Yes. Jenny Hart posted a few weeks ago, I think, about where she got some crazy deal approved by the seller with like, hey, will you pick up my kids from daycare for the next year and pay closing costs and blah, blah, blah. I mean, she had all the things in it. And Jenny Hart's awesome. And the seller apparently agreed. Okay. So is it still happening? Yes. Remember, the drunk monkey's really loud. Don't let the drunk monkey win. Over the last few weeks, my wife and I have both noticed that the number of showings available for houses is really down. So it was about a month ago, you went to do a showing on a property that just came on the market, and they were all blocked off. Like within minutes, everything was blocked off for the whole weekend, right? You couldn't get anything. And then magically about 2 weeks ago, I could book a showing anytime I wanted. Now, that doesn't mean that they're not getting multiple offers. It just means that something shifted in the market to where there's a lot fewer showings, and now you may have a little more control of what's going on, and maybe they're not getting an offer on day one. So now you can go see it. And the way I know this, by the way, is that you just go into showing time when you go to book a showing and everything's available. I'm not doing any kind of like spy work. I'm just looking at what's available, right? And if everything's available, that means that there's not a lot of showings on this house. I may have the opportunity to win. Go show your client quickly, write the offer, submit it with things like, hey, we're going to ask for closing costs. We'll pay you $5,000 over, but we're going to ask for $5,000 in closing costs. If it's the only offer on the table at the time, maybe it works for them. Okay.
Is that maybe because there's a lot more FSBOs going out there because things are selling so quickly?
Some of that is true, but that wouldn't account necessarily for the fact that houses that are listed with agents are still not having a lot of showings because there's still a huge demand, right? The buyer demand is still really high. Inventory, Northern Colorado last time, this is a few weeks ago, was 12 days of supply in all of Northern Colorado.
The potential of interest rates to go up there's some hesitancy there.
Yeah. There's a million things that could be going on, and I'm not sure exactly what they are, but with 12 days of supply, meaning if we didn't sell it, if no new houses came on the market, everything would be sold in all of Northern Colorado in 12 days. So something's going on because the demand for buyers didn't just drop off. I do think that it may be the weather got nicer, you know, this was spring break week. I mean, who knows, right? There could be a million things going on there. Yet as professionals, we need to take advantage of that with our clients. So just don't assume that drunk monkey when it comes to negotiations. Don't assume that everything's, you know, multiple offers, you got to waive everything. Talk to the other agent, okay? We're going to talk about that in a minute, which is asking questions, okay? Seek first to understand. So price, terms, closing costs, closing date, we talked about conveyances. Remember, personal property we talked about, please keep those out of real estate transactions. They will muck up the works and mess things up. I've had a fence mess things up. Again, blinds, all that kind of stuff. Okay, so try and keep those things as separate as possible. When you're listing houses, try and keep it as clean as possible so you're not including those things. So that when we talk, I don't remember who it was. It may have been, I don't remember. I'm sorry who it was, but you mentioned the fridge being swapped out, right? So one of the things one of the things you have to do is you have to make sure that you document what it is. And again, keeping it separate from the transaction. So using a personal property agreement of some sort, and Bruce can help me, I think we have one, but it's separate. So it doesn't go to the lender because otherwise the appraiser has to put a value on the fridge and how much it's worth and what condition is it in. You don't want any of that stuff. So separately, the buyer and seller will agree outside of the real estate transaction to, you know, hand over the fridge for free at the closing of the real estate contract, okay? But that's a separate agreement that is just between the buyer and seller. Or, hey, there'll be a check on the counter, blah, 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 whatever the thing happens to be. I'm gonna pay you $100 for the fridge. I'll give you the check at closing, whatever, okay? So that is all separate. But the best way to do that, honestly, is document it out so that it's, you know, exactly what the model number is and all that, okay? So that they don't swap it out. Sometimes it's on purpose. Sometimes it's just they weren't paying attention. I had clients that moved to Vegas from Kansas City and they took the washer and dryer with them on accident. They just weren't thinking it through. And that caused all kinds of problems. And I got threatened, you know, from the buyers that they were going to sue me and blah, blah, blah. They never sued, by the way. So just know that all of those things are negotiable and things we should keep as separate as possible from the real estate transaction. Earnest money and options, by the way, again, negotiable. So on the buy side, I want the earnest money to be as low as possible. And around here, the average is about 1%, okay? That's just kind of the going rate. Is that required though? No. So can you make up whatever you want? Yeah. So I would keep it as low as possible. I want as little exposure to my client as possible because that's my job on the buy side. On the list side, I want to make sure it's at least 1% or more. I had a deal one time where they were their credit was kind of crappy. They wanted to do a lease purchase thing that was a year. And so they had originally said, we want to put $10,000 down. And I was like, make it 50,000 and we might have a deal. Okay. I want lots of skin in that game when I'm on the list side. And I'm on the buy side, I want almost no skin in the game, whatever I can get away with, okay? So again, remember where you are in terms of negotiations as well and who you're representing. Repairs, same thing. All of these things, I always in negotiations have upfront conversations with people, setting expectations. So another thing I want you to take away from this negotiating the deal is don't leave anything to chance. Always guide your clients through the process in advance, setting the expectations of what's about to happen. So for example, with repairs, during my buyer consultation, which every single one of my buyers, before they even sign with me, has a buyer consultation. Okay? It's a requirement of mine so that they have to sit down and go through it with me. If they're not willing to sit down and go through it with me, I don't sign them as a buyer. I'm in a place of abundance, not because I have so much business. It's because I know that when I have the buyer consultation, negotiations are a whole lot easier because I've set expectations. If you don't do that, and by the way, you do this with family especially. A lot of people think they can skip that step with family. You do buyer consultations with everybody. You treat your family exactly the same, or friends or parents or whatever it is, whoever you're helping, they all go through the buyer consultation. If you don't know what that is, we'll teach a class on that later, and we'll talk about the details of a buyer consultation. The point is that we talk about the things we're going to negotiate, including repairs. And I tell people, you buyer, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, you don't want the seller making repairs to the house if we can avoid it. Why? Because while they have to do things in the correct manner, they're going to do it on the cheap, right? They're on the way out. So they're not going to spend, they're not going to get the gold plated whatever. They're going to get the thing, right? The cheapest thing possible. So what we're going to do is we're going to look for high dollar item things or major safety concerns. That's it. So we don't want to go ask the seller to change a light bulb. What we're really looking for is the furnace going to work? Is there a hole in the roof? Is there a crack in the foundation? We're looking for big, big things. Does the garbage disposal work? Not a concern, right? What I do by doing that is I pre-negotiate this with my clients. I want them to understand that I don't want them to come in and say, we want the garbage disposal replaced. What? Why? Okay. So that's why we do all of this stuff in advance. We have all of these conversations in advance. We already know what we're going to negotiate. This is a list of things, right? Everything's negotiable. So for you all to help you with this, as you go through these things, over time, you'll learn them. For the first 4 or 5 transactions, it's a lot of asking questions. After that, it becomes somewhat second nature. I still ask questions to this day. Yet write down all of the things where it's like, oh, I should know that, or, oh, I should ask this question. Then when you go back and you start with the next client, now you can kind of set them up for success with you, okay? Negotiations are win-win for everybody. That doesn't mean that when someone comes to me and expects me to be the expert, that I can't give them the direction that we're going to go. They could say, no, we're not going to do that. And I can say, okay, great, we're not working together. That's fine in a place of abundance. I just need to make sure that they understand. Casey, call you out for just a second. That Texas guy, did you do a consultation with him? Like sit down?
Yeah.
Walk through with
So,
him?
okay. So it's really funny, actually. I had it already and I had it prepared, and I still do have one prepared. And I asked him if we could do a Zoom or if we can sit down at a good time. And he's like, oh, I'm really bad at Zoom. I'm pretty busy. I'd rather you just call me. And I said, oh, okay, I understand. But this being your first home purchase, I feel like it's necessary to understand the roadmap from start to finish so that way you are not thrown any curveballs during this process. And curveballs meaning, oh yeah, you have to pay for like the home inspection. You're going to have to get the appraisal and like just a lot of other stuff that it goes along with it. He did not want to schedule a Zoom or sit down. Like he told me he's not comfortable with that. So what I did was it was a phone call buyer's presentation, which was not what I recommend at all ever, especially for my first buyer. It was hard to communicate thoroughly to him over the phone when I wasn't looking at him. I felt like he wasn't listening. I felt like he was probably doing something else and not really even understanding the whole process and what making an offer is. So I really don't think he ever fully understood the process, even though I made weekly calls to him.
For barbecue.
What was that?
You should have invited him for some barbecue to discuss it.
Texas barbecue, right?
Yeah, but he lives in, oh yeah, right. Well, he didn't even want to come out to do the showings, and he drove here. So it was like a timeline, and he didn't understand that listings, when they came up, they're going to be gone by the time you make your way here from Texas. I understand him wanting to see it, but that's why I was doing virtual tours. I was trying to send him everything. I was driving all over the place just to do showings for him and sending him these videos. And he had questions on the home inspection. He had questions on like the city water, the attic, the crawl space, the roof. And I'm like, okay, so those are not really my expertise.
So this is, and this is perfect. Thank you. So part of why I wanted to highlight that, and I appreciate that, is that one, I appreciate the fact that you made the attempt to make it happen. Everyone should do that. Now, the red flags start going off when he doesn't want to participate in this process, right? So I think of myself as a professional. We're going to make sometimes thousands of dollars an hour. okay? You should think of yourself in the same light. So when you go to the doctor, first off, they make you fill out paperwork. They do the consultation. They don't just start treating you right away, right? And you have to listen to what they say. They're the expert. They do the things. And so I get that there's some room to negotiate between, or room to wiggle in terms of, hey, I'm not a doctor, yet I'm about to help someone with the largest financial purchase or sale they'll ever make in their entire lives. I should be just as professional. And when I know what I'm doing, even though you guys are in the process of learning, and that is okay, you're still a million times more knowledgeable than your clients are going to be, okay? And so the fact that you attempted to do the consult and he wasn't wanting to participate, red flag. Then when he's going to have you jumping around, we call that being a Pop-Tart agent, not because you did anything wrong. You were working to try and do the job for your client, and I appreciate that. We don't want to be Pop-Tart agents. That's not a business owner, okay? Business owners are Pop-Tarts. Like, hey, can you show me this house right now? Yeah, I don't know you. I don't know if you're a, psycho stalker. Sure, I'll meet you there. It's $1 million house. Yes, let's go see it, right? No, we're going to sit down and do a consult. Well, I don't have time for that. I can call somebody else. Okay, call somebody else. Have a nice day. I'm not Pop-Tarting, okay? So these are the kinds of things where, again, we'll learn. You balance that out. I'm not saying it's 100%, never Pop-Tart. I've Pop-Tarted before. It happens. It's not a judgmental thing. It is a do your best to carve your business out the way it makes the most sense. Part of that consult thing, the reason I asked all of that is because all of the things you mentioned that he wanted to do, we pre-negotiate with our clients in the buyer consult. So we pre-negotiate that we're going to do this, then we're going to do this. And then when I show houses, it's only going to be with notice and blah, 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 right? So that's why I encourage all of you to have those things ready to go. If you don't know what that looks like, Bruce and I will help you with that. Just make sure that you understand that there is a process to this. You're pre-negotiating everything out. Sometimes it's just setting the expectations with your clients. This is how it's going to be. And as a professional, this is how I work. If they don't like that, then they can go work with somebody else who doesn't have the benefit of these kinds of classes, okay? So 3 Ps to negotiating when you get into this, okay? Again, it can be learned and it works. First, you prepare. By the way, then you position. This is absolutely wrong. Prepare, position, and then present, okay? In that order. Prepare, position, and then present, not the order it's on the screen. Okay. So prepare, know your goal. And by your goal, our goal is to close the transaction, okay? Or not, depending on what ends up happening. We got to understand what our client's goal is. What did they want? What's their motivation? This may be the point where you remind them of their motivation. Why are we offering 20 grand under? Do you just want a deal or do you want a house? Let me know. I'll do whatever you want. It's just different things start to happen if that's the case. If you just want a deal, like I said, I'll put you on the list. When I come up with a house that's a deal, I will call you first. Everybody else, I'm just going to show houses to you, and they're going to write offers at or over asking price because that's the market today. Okay. So know your goals, know your client's goals, think ahead, and then set clear expectations. Another important thing in negotiation is being a couple of steps ahead. When I say this, my client is going to think of this 3 steps away. So when I make them think that we can negotiate light bulbs when we're looking at the house and they're like, oh, these lights don't work. No, we're going to have to get that fixed. And you jump in like, yeah, I can't believe they wouldn't have those lights fixed. You're setting yourself up for negotiating light bulbs. Okay. I'm not saying not to be honest. I'm not saying just think in advance of what those next steps are going to be based on what you say. Oh, this house isn't worth this. Really? How do you know? Are you an appraiser?
There's your opportunity to wait.
Yes, exactly. Why am I talking, right? So absolutely. So don't say things like, I don't think this house is worth it. That is not what we do, right? If your client thinks it's worth it, they may ask you, hey, do you think this house is worth it? You know, I have to run the numbers. I will tell you again in my buyer consult, I've already told them this, is that I'm going to do an analysis and figure out what's sold in the area. In this market, though, I can tell you that sometimes that stuff gets just thrown out the window, in my opinion. The appraisers are coming up with crazy things. I don't know how that happens. It's just happening. So what I think we need to do is understand, are there going to be multiple offers or not? Let's just assume that's the case. And then we're negotiating with ourselves, come in with our highest and best. If your monkey's telling you this house is overpriced, I can't believe anyone would pay for that shag carpet. Oh, well, not your house. If they want the house with the shag carpet, get it for them. And if they got to pay $10,000 over, get it for them. If they want to, make sure they understand the process. You're going to pay 10,000 over. Your loan's only going to be for this much potentially. We got to talk to the lender, the appraisal, blah, blah, blah. Walk them through all that stuff. If they want to write a check for $10,000 or bring a briefcase in with $10,000 in cash, let them. Not my monkey or my circus. Okay. Make sense? So think ahead on this stuff, set clear expectations. So prepare, that's the prepare piece. Okay. Then be informed, obey the laws, don't break any laws, and know your documents. So I will tell you, I am not great at Colorado contracts. I used to be super awesome at the Kansas City metro area, Kansas, Missouri contracts. And I would out negotiate people, agents who didn't know the contracts very well. I need to get better at the contracts here, although my focus isn't selling real estate here. That's why I don't know them as well. I likely know them better than some of the agents though, even though I barely know them, okay? Because I've got some history with contracts. I want you guys to have, one of the things that you can work with Bruce on is practicing scripts around the contracts. You should be able to explain these things, right? Work with Jesse, whoever, and sit down and just have a script for each paragraph. I'm not saying you go paragraph by paragraph, line by line. You don't read them, yet you should understand, what is this paragraph saying? What does it mean? What's the best way to explain it? And when you understand how it works in the contract, how to fill it out, some of this comes with experience, some of it comes with practice, you will run circles around agents who've been doing this for 25 years. I've been doing this for 25 years and I blah, 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 blah. Yes, I've heard that a million times. Got to tell you, those people are the worst at this. They don't know how to fill out contracts. So don't break the law and know how to fill out the contracts. All of this said, by the way, one caveat that just popped into my head, please don't prepare to prepare the entire time. So if a client calls you or somebody, you're like, well, I don't want to do open houses because somebody might ask me about a contract. Okay, get a client. You could be the best prepared contract reader, writer person ever in the history of Colorado real estate and never have anybody to share that with, right? Clients, you'd be broke and then go into work for somebody else. Okay. So don't do that. Don't prepare to prepare to the point where I'm now an expert at the contracts and I can do anything. That's not what I mean. What I mean is pay attention, understand them, learn them over time and become that expert. That comes with practice, meaning sell a lot of real estate. In the meantime, people like Bruce will absolutely be here to help make sure you fill them out correctly and do what's right for your client. Okay. So we're not going to let you fail. Just make sure that you understand what's in them, but don't prepare to prepare and then say, well, I can't do it. I can't fill out a contract. I can't work with a buyer because I don't know how to do the contracts. That's step 300. You're on step 0.
I'm going to echo with that. Too often do I hear and shake my head and put a fake smile on my face when I hear an agent say, well, I just got my new buyer lead and they're probably going to be looking at homes this weekend. So I can't stick to my open house plan, or I don't want to in case they want to see houses. Terrible. You might as well just take a gun out, shoot yourself in the foot and go hobble around a little bit and try and grab some real estate. You can do all of that. That's exactly what he's talking about. Don't prepare to be prepared. Just unless you know for a fact I want to see 8 houses a day, stick to your open house plan, or change your open house to 10 to noon and then go show houses in the afternoon, or show houses all morning and then do your open house in the afternoon. Never, ever, ever take away from your lead gen activities just because you have a buyer who might want to go see some houses.
Yeah, we see that all the time.
You could have another real estate agent do your open houses or vice versa, Bruce?
No, I'm saying do both. If anything, I would never have an agent do my open houses because that's where I get more business. If anything, I'm going to pay somebody else $25 a doorstep to go show my client that I already captured, that I already have a relationship with, that I already have under contract. Then if that's the case, then they go show or have somebody else go show houses, but never have anybody do your open house that you had planned and all of that stuff. The showings, your clients that want to go see houses on the weekend, all of that stuff, they will work around your open houses unless you have like a 6-hour open house, and then you're really constrained. But if you have a 6-hour open house, chances are you're not doing a 6-hour open house on a Saturday and a Sunday. So choose one, do both. I personally always did 11 to 1 with my open houses. And I told my clients, look, I've got time before my open house to do a few, and I've got some time after my open house to do a few. Would you like Saturday or Sunday between 9 and 10 or 2 to 4 both days. Let them choose. Or
That's how professionals work, right? So I'm not saying, again, we got to learn through this, okay? So I just understand that we do this from experience. We've experienced these things. Don't be the Pop-Tart person. Don't adjust your schedule because your client says, oh, I got to look at this house, it's an emergency. If they had the cable install guy coming to their house after they purchase it, the cable person is coming to their house sometime between noon on Tuesday and the following Wednesday. And they're going to have to be there the entire time, right? Just sitting and waiting. And they're willing to do that for that cable person to get internet installed, but they won't like arrange a time with you to go show houses. It has to be right now. Yeah, we need to be professionals at this, okay?
yeah,
And that
the
helps
other,
you plan out your day.
yeah, the other thing to make sure I answer her question, I never want to have somebody else do an open house, because you know what happens is, hey, Mark, can you do this open house for me? I got to go show houses this coming Saturday. Mark says, yeah. And on Monday, we're at the coffee pot, grabbing some coffee. And Mark goes, oh my gosh, thank you so much for allowing me to do the open house. I think I got like a cash buyer out of it and a potential listing. I can't thank you enough. Any other open houses that you have coming up, let me know.
Right.
I tell you, 9 times out of 10, that's what I hear happens.
Now,
Okay.
again, from a place of abundance, right? Come from that place. If you can't do it, let somebody else do it and good luck to them. And they're going to walk away with $1 million. Okay, great. That's just the way it works. Don't be bitter. It is what it is, right? Just know that that's the possibility. And then don't be mad because you showed a client who decided not to write offers or to write $20,000 under on each offer, right? You know those things going in, set expectations, negotiate your way through those things, and you'll win at the end. Any comments from the prepare piece? Know your goals, know your clients, think ahead, set expectations, be informed, obey the laws, know the documents inside and out. Any questions about any of that stuff? Okay. Let's go to position. Now, I say position because in here they kind of are using the present as a position sort of, and so we'll talk a little bit about both, okay? So once I'm prepared, I've thought 3 steps ahead. I know what my closing date's going to be and I know why. Look for holidays, all that kind of stuff, right? Make sure that your clients, can be there. You know, they can take time off work. I had that conversation during the buyer consult. You're going to take time off work for the closing. It's going to be an hour or 2, blah, blah, blah. Set all that stuff up in advance. Then what I'm going to do when possible, and I know people are getting bombarded, so don't be that agent when you get a listing. I call the other agent, text them, whatever's easier, and I ask questions, okay? Now, you and I all know, because we are professionals at this, we are not allowed to share the motivation of our client, right? We cannot do that. What I will tell you is not all agents know that. Is it okay if I call another agent? So this is a question for the group, you guys answer. Is it okay if I call another agent that's got a listing, we're getting ready to write an offer, and I ask them, hey, where are your clients moving to? Can I do that? Is that allowed? Remember, it's their motivation. We're not allowed to know motivation, right? We're not allowed to share motivation, sorry. So am I allowed to call the listing agent and ask them, where are your clients moving to? Just yell it out. What do you guys think?
That's fine.
Yes.
Yes.
Heck yeah. So that other agent can't tell me, yet they have what I call diarrhea of the mouth because they haven't been in a class about negotiation, so they don't know. And I've had people tell me, they're like, so I'll call them and I'll say, hey, where are your clients moving to when they move? And then I wait. And then they're like, oh, well, they have a house that's almost done being built and it's going to be done in 3 weeks. And we got to get this house sold like immediately or else, you know, blah, blah, blah. I've had literally agents tell me that stuff. And I'm thinking, y'all can't do this. I don't use the word y'all, but I'm going to say y'all. Y'all can't do this, right? This is just not a thing. Please stop telling me this stuff. In the meantime, I call my client and I'm like, they got to move right away. Their house is done in 3 weeks, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Can I ask them? No. Can I use it against them? You bet. And I will, because I like to negotiate. Okay. So ask the questions. Where are they moving to next? How quickly do they need to be there? All questions, by the way, you would ask in a listing presentation, right? Where are you moving to next? How quickly do you need to be there? What terms are they looking for? Now, most agents these days will say things like, whatever you want, whatever you think is best. They're, obviously looking at highest and best by this date. Okay. Can you give me any insight? Do they want a post occupancy? Would they prefer this versus that? Do they like closing on a Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday? Which is their preferred date? Blah, blah, blah. So keep poking, right? Ask lots of questions, even when they tell you, I'm not telling you. Okay, well, what about this?
Mark,
Yeah.
Can you role play with me how that would look? This is the one that I think agents, I get calls a lot on this one.
Okay.
No, Mark, I can't tell you what the highest offer is that we have in hand.
Okay, is that because your client won't allow that, or you just don't want to share?
Yeah, I think we just don't want to share.
Okay, and that's okay. I just know that if you can tell me what that number is, I'm going to do my best to get my clients to beat that number. So is there any possibility you can tell me that? Because it is allowed for you to tell me. A lot of agents don't realize that. I'm not trying to tell you anything you don't already know. I just know that a lot of agents don't realize they can actually tell me what the highest number is, and I can work to try and beat that. I just want to get this deal for my clients, and if it means price, then let's beat them on price. So can you tell me what it is?
No, I don't. I want to. I see what you're saying. I don't feel comfortable.
Okay, no problem. I totally understand that. You do have multiple offers though, correct?
Correct.
In hand?
Yes, we have 3 in hand, 2 threats.
Okay, perfect. Thanks for that. I appreciate that. Are there any specifics that your clients are looking for that would help in terms of, winning an offer? So I understand you can't tell me the price, but can you tell me, do they need a post occupancy? Do they need to stay in the house a little longer? Do they want to close quickly? Do they want to take a longer time to close? What really are they looking for? Where are they going to when they move?
Yeah, we would really like to be able to maybe close and have everything finalized, and then have about a week to maybe a week and a half to just pack the trucks and head out.
Okay, perfect. Where are they going to? Are they moving out of state then?
Yeah, they are, but I can't really disclose exactly what they're doing.
Dang, you just told me that they're moving out of state, sucker. I got this. Okay. You don't say that part.
No, and that's what I want
That's
them
the
to
inside
feel.
part.
That's what I want them to hear, Mark, because what happens is they're not supposed to. And even the agents that know they're not supposed to, humanality comes in. The human nature behind answering a simple question that I know it's right at the tip of my tongue. I'm ready to answer, Mark, and I don't want to, I can't, but damn, half of it just slipped out.
You do anyway. And so what I might do at this point then is like, oh, that's really interesting because my clients have a moving company. Maybe they can help them with the move, a discount on their move or something like that. You think that might be helpful for them?
You say stuff like that, right? And then on the price side of things, you guys, I've really learned that you can get people to that place where they either have a line in the sand. Nope, I've already talked about it with my seller, and we are absolutely not telling you guys where the highest offer is. Okay, great. I'm going to probably drop that one right there, but at least I got them to the point where they drew the line for me. But the ones that say, well, I just don't really feel that comfortable with it. The only reason why they don't feel comfortable with it is why? They didn't ask their clients yet. They haven't talked to their seller about this. So I say, hey, you know what? I completely understand that you don't feel comfortable, and it's your seller's decision. How about this? Do you think you can have a conversation with your seller over the next couple of hours? And, do you mind if I call you back, or would you call me back? Because I really want to put in this offer that beats other offers to net your sellers more money. Being that you're not comfortable, can you please go talk to your seller to see if you're allowed to disclose this with me? If they say, no, we're good, I'm not going to go ahead and do that. All right, cool. Let's play the hot and cold game. All right, you guys, it's listed at 500. You guys over 525? You're not telling me exactly what the offer is, but are you guys over there? Am I getting closer? Well, we're right around there. Okay, so are we top? Did we top? Are we getting hotter or colder when I say 530? You're getting a little colder. All right, am I getting hotter or colder when I say 520? I see what you're doing here, son. Now I'm not giving you any more. I got the range, 520 to 530. Let's roll.
When you guys are comfortable with this, and this takes a little practice, right? So there's some role play involved and things like that. As you do this more, it's okay to ask these questions. It's okay to push a little bit, right? You're gonna always get the agents who's kind of a jackass, truthfully. It just doesn't want to help you at all and all that. That's fine, that happens. Yet, as we talked about here, Are they moving out of state? Well, I can't really say. Well, you know, are they going sometime soon? Whatever, Bruce accidentally gives it away. Great, now I know. I will call my client and I'll tell them, hey, what I found out is they're moving out of state. They want an extra week to stay, blah, blah, blah. What agents also don't understand is sometimes it's okay to what we call shop the offer. It's actually allowed. You can do that with your seller's permission, okay? And what we mean by that is that I have done this before where I had multiple offers and I just went back. I had one, this was back in the day before there was really tons of multiple offers. I had one that had 19 offers on it. And I just went back to all 19 people and I said, winning offer will include the following. And I just listed out 5 things: close on this date, you know, guarantee appraisal, you know, gap of this much money, blah, 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 blah. I just put that all out there and I said, here's the 4 or 5 things that my client wants. Winning offers will do that. Of the 19, all but 4 dropped out. 4 of them showed up with a really good paycheck involved, right, for my sellers and the other criteria. Great. So now we had 4 to choose from. So that it is okay to do those things on the list side. People don't understand. So what you need to do though is be fair. Like I can't tell Jake, hey Jake, yeah, you know, if you can say that we'll close in 3 weeks, then my clients will be good. And then you don't tell anybody else, right? You got to tell everybody the same thing, okay? So let everybody have a chance to compete, yet competition is good. I don't like giving out the price, and this is why, just my drunk monkey. I don't like giving out the price that I have because I want people to negotiate against themselves. So that's just me. That doesn't mean it's the right way or the wrong way to negotiate on that. Typically, I'll talk to my clients about not telling people price. I will talk about all the other terms. I just price. I want people to come in blind and like throw bunches of money at me. Okay. And my client, again, that's my monkey. I see the other side of that, which is, hey, beat 525 and you got a deal. Okay. Right. Both are winning strategies. It's just which one you prefer. Okay. Other questions around that? Ask the questions. Ask question, stop talking. Amazing things will happen. Okay. Let the silence do the heavy lifting. Okay. And if you're in person, it talks about pay attention to nonverbal cues, keep quiet once you present the offer. We've talked about that. Listen carefully to what they say is important or what they don't say. Okay, remember your monkey is, oh, price, price, price. Man, they're really stressed out about this move. Like they've got 2 weeks to be in this house. You call your lender and you're like, can we close in 2 weeks? The lender's like, yeah, okay, great. Let's make it happen. Okay, now you're winning because you're the one that closes quickly. All from simple questions, okay? And you can have these questions pre-set out, by the way. So you can write them down and every time you have an offer, you just pull out this piece of paper and you go, list of questions, okay? So don't feel like you got to do this on the fly. Stay calm. It is not your deal. Somebody else's deal. Unless you're writing the check, it's not your deal, okay? So stay calm. Focus on your client's needs. Make sure that you're focusing on what they want, not what you want, or not that you win. It's not about you or your ego, okay? And give your offer the best chance by being confident, filling out your paperwork correctly. Somebody mentioned that not too long ago, that they won a multiple offer situation because they were the only ones who filled out the contract correctly. I want to work with that agent. And by the way, I look at that stuff. I will flat out tell my client, this is the only agent of the 20 offers we had that filled the contract out correctly. I think we go with this, or we just counter this one and try and get more money out of them to match the other higher offer. But if this agent knows what they're doing on the contracts, chances are this is going to be a smooth transaction. Okay. So be professional, put yourself in the best light. Okay. That's why I have a Bruce, for example, look through your contract. I did that when I first moved out here. Bruce was looking at all my stuff. I paid him to do it, worth every penny. Okay. I judged him about his hair, but I still do it. So give your offer the best chance by being professional. Now, if the other agent on the other side is not professional, don't take it personally, just deal with it. If you don't get any information, you don't get any information. Go in blind, do your best. Understand what the market's like. Hey, call somebody. Jenny does properties that are unique sometimes. I'll call her and be like, hey, Jenny, I've got this property. I've never sold anything out here and wherever. It's got 3 acres. It's this, it's that. What do you think? And then I'll get Jenny's opinion on it. And then I'll turn around and tell my client, okay, you have a lot of resources available to you. Use all of those things. Sometimes you just have to do it quickly, okay? That's where it's important to develop some of these relationships in advance. This is a relationship game. You need to have those things ready to go, okay? there's an entire class on all of the details on all of these things. I won't go through all of this, but hopefully this is enough to kind of get you going in terms of negotiating, what you need to think about, asking the right questions, listening for the right things, all of that. Okay. Acknowledge and confirm common ground where possible. Ask what and how questions. So notice this first one, Mr. Mrs. Seller, you are requesting a 30-day closing. What is important about closing in 30 days? Sound familiar? Should, right? Why is that important to you? Okay. Again, my goal is to let the buyer know why this point is important to you. So you're negotiating with your sellers on how to deal with the buyer. Okay. Understanding what you can say in advance, what you can't say. Okay. Positioning as a process, you may have to go back and forth multiple times. Okay. Do not ever let negotiating a deal interfere with your lead gen. Okay. So old me used to get an offer on a Sunday night at 6 o'clock, right? On a listing I had. Sunday night, 6 o'clock. Oh, we got an offer. So I'll look it up. Yeah, family's getting ready to eat dinner. I'll leave that. I'll go up to the office and I'll sit and I'll look through it. And okay, great. Then I'll call my client. Hey, we got an offer. Great. So I'll tell them what the offer is and all that kind of stuff. And then I'll call the other agent. Hey, they want to counter on this. Great. And then we counter back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Man, it's bedtime. Everybody's going to bed. Okay, we'll pick it up in the morning. Pick it up in the morning, negotiate again. By noon, we're under contract. Life is awesome, right? Or maybe by 9. Let's say 9 o'clock, we're under contract, 10 o'clock. Great. Under contract, life is good. Except for my family's mad because I missed dinner. I didn't lead gen that morning because now it's 10 o'clock and I haven't done any lead gen. I've just been negotiating the offer. It's important. It is. However, new me realized at one point, and this actually happened, I remember doing it. I got an offer at 6 o'clock at night and I looked at it and I went, awesome, offer. Hey, let's eat this for dinner. Ate dinner with the family, got up in the morning, did my lead gen, called my client. Hey, we got an offer. I am required to present that offer within a reasonable amount of time. It doesn't say I have to drop my dinner plans with my family, risk my marriage, and having my kids take care of me someday, because when I get old and end up in a diaper or something, they're going to have to take care of me, right? So all of these things could happen because I negotiate an offer. Nowhere in any document does it say I have to drop everything I'm doing to immediately call that client. I have to do it in a reasonable amount of time. I'm busy with my family on a Sunday night. I'm not presenting an offer. So I'm going to do it first thing Monday morning. I'm going to call, or not, sorry, not first thing Monday morning, first thing Monday morning, sorry. I'm going to lead gen for my 2 hours, then I'll call the client. So this actually happened and I got under contract by like it was 11 or noon. I got my lead gen in, stayed married, and got under contract. Win, 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 right?
So flipping true. I worked with an agent yesterday, called me in a panic. First offer. When I say panic, I think it's more of excitement, right? Clients just got pre-approved, ready to write an offer. And it's about 6:30 at night last night. And the agent says it'll be a half an hour before I get home. And I've never wrote an offer before. Step one, he's been with us for about 3 months. And if you are on here and have never done a mock contract, if you're on here and been here with us for more than I'd say a month and a half, and you haven't even tried to practice a mock contract, you're going to be that person that's pants on fire when the time comes. But what I'm really getting at is through having a conversation with him, I politely told him I'm not going to be available this evening to go through this, to walk you through it, to go around this. And the number one reason why is because all offers aren't due until Thursday at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And by the time he would get home, by the time he would need to chat with me, he's going home. It's 6:30 at night. He's got a wife and kiddo. I just saw this. I saw everything that Mark was just telling you. It starts to happen. He gets home. He talks to his wife. He's all excited. I got to go write an offer. He gets on there. He realizes that your first contract is going to take you 3 to 4 hours to fill out. He's going to miss his daughter going to bed. His wife is going to be like, wow, he's on the computer all the time. Is this the way real estate's going to operate? I know he was all excited about his job. You see, I had a wife and kid that thought that. I was that agent who got all excited and went home, and it's a detriment to your business. Do you know how hard it was for me to get out of that habit? And so I saw that writing on the wall with him, and he got frustrated with me. And then when I finally said, look, I know you're frustrated. I know this is something you want to do, and I know you want your coach to be there for you. The reality is if I enable you and if I go through this and I help you right now, I'm taking away from my own personal life and you're taking away from your personal life, but more than anything, your family life. And the offer doesn't have to be in until 4 o'clock in the afternoon on Thursday. Why don't we wrap our head around grabbing a great night and celebrate with your wife tonight? Take your daughter, put her to bed, and celebrate your new career and your success. I got an email this morning that said, you're right. I got really excited. I had a great night with my wife and I woke up with a fresh set of eyes and I'm starting to write the contract. Will you be available this afternoon to review? Of course I'll be available this afternoon. Getting
That's
that
where-
him, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, we're gonna teach you how to run a business, not just be a realtor. Anybody can be a realtor. Anybody can, okay? Business owner is hard. And I want you to be business owners that happen to sell real estate, okay? That's what I really want for all of you, so that if in an emergency you need to get on a one-way flight for $1,000, you can do it and not think twice about it, right? I called Bruce and I'm like, hey, I might need your help with some clients. And he's like, don't even think about that. We got this, whatever. That's what I want for each and every one of you. Real estate has changed my life. And I want to be able to teach all of you how to do these things. You just have to be willing to put in that work. It's not easy. It's simple though, right? That's another thing we talk about. Real estate is simple.
It's
not
so
easy.
hard. It's so hard. I wanted to help that agent so flipping bad last night, but I knew it would be a detriment to his business and set him up on the wrong habits. And also it was an opportunity for me to go, hey, look, this is why we preach. If you're not doing a contract every month, you got to do a mock contract. I'm 8 years in, and if I don't do a contract about every other month, I stall and pause when I'm going through and trying to fill it out. You don't want to get to that point.
I actually sat down when I first moved out here. I know contracts in general, but the Colorado ones are weird. It talks about wildlife and stuff. We didn't have that in Kansas City. So I actually sat down with Bruce. I still have the pictures that I took. They're in my Evernote. If you aren't familiar with that, it's this online thing, right? So of the back of the envelope that I happen to have in my office where I wrote down, line 1 is this, line 2 is this, line 3 is this. It's all Bruce just telling me, and I wrote it out. I still have the picture. And when I fill out a contract, I still go back to that thing. Okay, so do what you need to do to prepare for those things. Okay, understand though what's coming up. Ask questions, call me up, ask me like, hey, how do I do this? Just understand that as a professional, it's best if we arrange some time to do that. I'll do my best to help you when you Pop-Tart. I'm going to also on occasion push you off because I don't want you to Pop-Tart all the time. Okay, and it's not because I don't care. I will jump through hoops to help anybody anytime. I also want you to learn how to run that business so that you can live the life you want to live. Don't live the realtor lifestyle until you have the realtor paychecks though. So if you were working somewhere right now, let's say this place, right? You got to show up at 8, you got to leave at 5, or show up at 5 in the morning and leave whenever, right? 2 in the afternoon. And you got to know how to do all the things and all that. And you're going to make 20, let's say $20 an hour, 15, whatever they're paying. Okay. You will show up on time for your schedule. You'll take an hour-long lunch and you'll leave whenever they tell you. If I were to give any one of you $50 an hour to do something, whatever it is, okay, legal, and I said, hey, here's $50 an hour. I want you to show up at 8 and I want you to leave at 5 and take an hour-long lunch and do this in between. Some of you would be like, yeah, I'll do that. And that's fine. Nothing wrong with that, right? You'd show up at 8, you'd leave at 5, you'd take your hour-long lunch. Yet for some reason, when we get into this business, we think, oh, well, I can just show up at 10 or 11, do what I want, talk to some people, blah, 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 take some classes, just do that all day. And then, be done by maybe 2 or 3 after I've had lunch with somebody. And then, I've worked a full day. You haven't done anything. You get fired, right? And you have the potential of making thousands of dollars an hour. I love that you guys are doing this class. I love that you're participating and you're available to do this stuff and asking questions and all that. Perfect, right? I also need you to make sure that you are focusing on the things you need to do to get business. So negotiations are awesome and we can do all of these things, yet it won't matter if you don't have any clients, okay? So I want you to focus on lead gen. You should be, if you don't have any business, you should be lead genning 8 hours a day. Why not? I know that sucks, right? I'm not saying it's awesome. Yet, here's the example I'll give you. When you do 6 open houses on a weekend, which by the way, I did 9 to 11, 12 to 2, and 3 to 5. Okay, those were the times I did. 2 hours each, an hour in between. Okay. Again, this was a Kansas City area, so things were different. There wasn't COVID at the time. You have to whatever, wipe things down, whatever you got to do. So maybe you need a little more time. When I did those, I was telling people that's an 8-hour workday. So what I want you to do is when it's cold and snowy out, which we'll still have some unfortunately coming up, I think next weekend or something like that. I want you to go find a guy or a gal who's down in a ditch fixing a road. Okay, they're digging a ditch. And I want you to go to that ditch and I want you to look down there and say, hey, yeah, I had to work all weekend in someone's house, drinking coffee, talking to people for 8 whole hours. It sucked. How's that ditch? And I want you to tell me lead gen is hard. Okay. Not a judgment call. I'm not here to tell you I'd lead gen all day. What I'll tell you is if you want business, go lead gen. You want more business, lead gen more. Imagine somebody's paying you $50 an hour to lead gen. By the way, you're going to be making hundreds of dollars an hour when you do this. It's just not instant gratification. It's not 2 weeks from now. It is 60 days from now. Yet it's thousands of dollars. All you got to do is get out of your own head. Okay. So last thing, and then we can just go to questions and I'll let you guys go, get you out of your own time. That is basically the things you need to know for negotiation. Think in advance, understand motivation, ask questions. Why is that important to you? And then wait, the wait principle. So this is the part that I told you about, is how I get a free lunch from Bruce, even though he invites me to lunch. Okay. So what you do is when the waiter or waitress comes by after you've ordered and your guys are eating and all that stuff, they'll come up and they'll be like, is this one check or two? And here's what I want you to do. Wait. Can lose this. So do you see? But
I'll buy you guys all lunch today.
Yeah. So what happens is, and so make sure it's a friend who can actually afford it, because otherwise they're going to be cheap. But the point is, take a friend, literally try this. Okay. Take a friend to lunch and say, when the check, they're like, hey, you want one check or two? Don't say anything. Stare awkwardly at them, at either your friend or the waiter or waitress. Just stare at them. Do not talk. Wait. Why am I talking? Employ the wait principle. And whoever talks first loses in a negotiation. So that person who you're with will likely be like, okay, I got it. Free lunch. Okay. Works for dinner too, and breakfast. Okay. Any other questions? Does anybody have any questions specific to anything we talked about here? Anything? By the way, if you take me to lunch and try this trick, I am not going to lose. So we will just sit there all afternoon waiting.
I'll get you talking. You'll end up talking.
Well, I'll talk. I just won't pay the bill. So no questions. Everybody good so far? Does this all make sense? All good?
This is fantastic, Mark. This is info they needed to hear, echoes they needed to hear from the coaching program. You guys see, it's nothing. They're not any different. Mark just has a different way of approaching it and saying it, and it's great to hear that. So I appreciate it, Mark.
Okay, so if you guys need anything, my contact information's in the chat. I believe Bruce put that in there. I appreciate all of you guys. Work hard. When you're feeling less motivated, please reach out to someone. Have some good accountability friends. This business will eat you up if you let it. Please don't let it. This should be fun. I like to joke. I like to have fun with my clients and my fellow professionals. So enjoy the time while you have it. If you are not seeing the success you want, sit down and talk to Bruce, and he will be no nonsense. He will tell you exactly what you need to do. Yet there is no reason for any of you not to have the success you want. Okay. Folks like Christina are going to come into this already hitting the ground running. By the way, Christina, I know you don't have a license yet. Just quick side note. You can start lead generating for business. You remember that pipeline we talked about? You should be reaching out to everybody you know and telling them you are working on your real estate license. Who do you know who's thinking about buying, selling, or investing in real estate? That way, when you, okay, perfect. And then just keep doing that. I want you to have a pipeline of things ready to go so that when you get your license, you're like, I'm in, let's go. Oh, you want to go see houses? Great. We're going to do a buyer consult, and then we're going to go see houses. That's what I want for each one of you. This is, people are selling houses right now in this market that have no idea what they're doing. I promise you guys are way ahead of that curve. So if you need help, motivation, find a buddy, find a Bruce, and we will be happy to help you get there. Okay.